Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia in South Africa today. It is important to be aware and accept the fact that Alzheimer's is not simply a normal facet of aging. It is a physical, progressive, and at this point in time, incurable disease of the brain. Worldwide research is focused on identifying the cause or causes of this debilitating disease, and until there are definite and conclusive results from this research, there will be no cure available. Alzheimer's affects people from all social sectors and genders and from all communities. The global economic cost of Alzheimer's disease at this moment in time is estimated to be $604 billion. Currently, there are an estimated 37 million sufferers worldwide. Predictions are that this number will increase to 66 million by 2030 and 116 million by 2050. Alzheimer's disease accounts for 50 to 75% of all cases of dementia. Younger onset dementia has been diagnosed in people as young as 35 years old.
My wife Frances is at Cosmos House, which is an Alzheimer's home. She's got something a bit different to Alzheimer's. She's actually got something that's called Pick's disease. 3 years ago, we noticed Frances had a bit of a problem where she was forgetting little things, and also she used to get upset about little odds, have a little tantrum, and we just put it down to getting old. But thinking back now, 5-6 years ago, we had these little tantrums, and actually this was the start of this whole disease.
what's brought us to Cosmos is my dad with Alzheimer's. He was diagnosed quite a long time ago. I'd say it's been about 8 years. I was fairly young when the signs started showing. He started with forgetting things. He was never good at remembering names, so it kind of wasn't an easy thing to tell when it just became a little bit more obvious. And then slowly but surely he became unable to, drive. He'd get lost. He would not be able to tell the time or tie his shoelaces. And I think eventually you realize something's very wrong.
These symptoms worsen with the passage of time. Language problems, for example, difficulty in naming objects, remembering the correct word, or constant repetition of sentences or phrases. There are usually 3 stages of this disease, known as mild, moderate, and severe, or early, middle, and late. Alzheimer's sufferer will normally impact on at least 4 other family members. This is due to the fact that there is no cure for this disease and it is progressive. The family will need to live with and try and manage the disease without any training or experience.
It's a difficult and traumatic disease, something that you just don't want to go through. We actually noticed with all the emotions and the getting angry that this wasn't just part of her getting old. It was actually the disease that was causing this.
Although there is no right time as such, there becomes a time where it's too difficult to keep the sufferer at home.
Mum cared for Dad from home for a long time, and obviously that was a massive impact on our family, and we became very close and we helped each other through that. She couldn't do it anymore. So eventually I think we got to the point where Mum realised that she can't do it all on her own.
It is vitally important for the family to remember that they are simply transferring the care of the sufferer to competent professionals and not the love. And that's what Cosmos House does. So how can we help you? Cosmos House offer day care, temporary respite care and full-time care. Our nurses are specially trained by Alzheimer's South Africa. They are all accredited Alzheimer's South African carers. They're trained in sensory care, and Cosmos has excellent staff to resident ratios. Our staff members value and place great emphasis on teamwork. Non-nursing staff such as the manager, security staff, kitchen staff gardener and cleaners have all completed a short but intensive course for non-professionals to gain an insight into the special requirements of our residents.
Yeah, it was the best thing we could have done, putting her into the home, because we found that having her at home, we just didn't cope. With the bathing, with changing of the nappies, changing of the beds. When she came, she was a little sort of apprehensive of whether she's going to be happier or not. We were also. And then they, these people who are trained for this type of thing took over, and she seemed to settle in very quickly.
A podiatrist visits regularly to ensure that our residents' feet are well cared for, as many of them are immobile. There are weekly visits by a doctor who does regular assessments and follow-ups. Our hairdresser comes to Cosmos 2 days a week. She is extremely patient and understanding and is well liked by all.
They remember having their hair done every week, and it's important to them. And they sit there and watch me work, put curls in their hair, and they love the whole experience. It relaxes them.
Food is outsourced to a company specializing in our special needs catering. As well as their staff being on site, monthly meetings with their management ensures the highest standards of quality and nutrition for our residents. We are able to offer specialized diets.
The Cosmos House has been great so far, and it's been really a blessing to know that we had these angels to take over and look after our loved ones.
And I think it's also important to mention that at other homes, you put them in frail care and they get care, but they're not surrounded by people who are in the same state that they're in. And for us, we really battled with that, because people would stare at my dad and they wouldn't understand it. And here he's understood and he's welcomed, and it makes a big difference.
Under the guidance of our qualified occupational therapist, the following programs are available: sensory programs daily, art activities twice a week, craft activities once a week, baking once a week, movement and exercises daily.
Once you come into a home, you lose the possibility of just being outside, being in an environment, having hugs and cuddles every day from your grandchildren or your spouse or whoever it is, your pet. And now you're in a home where you're kind of in a vacuum in terms of your sensory input, and we learn everything from what comes in through our senses, and all their memories are stored in there. And if nobody's tapping, if you don't put in, you're not going to get out. So these people can, without stimulation, literally sit and vegetate, and they decline and deteriorate much more quickly. So it's up to us to expose them to that, to trigger that moment of like lucidity, or we call it windows of insight, where you'll get an amazing response.
We have a family support program run by volunteers, and there's crafting for family and friends in residence and the community. Walkers to help exercise our residents, and the shoppers for Cosmos in the residence.
I was married to Chris. Chris developed vascular dementia, and he came to Cosmos House in 2008. My involvement with Cosmos began then because I spent such a lot of time here, and it meant such a lot to me the way he was cared for, because they cared for him in a way that I couldn't. Chris unfortunately passed away, but I'm still involved with Cosmos because I feel I can now give back a little bit because they did so much for me. When I first came to Cosmos with Chris, they started a support group for the carers and wives of the patients, and it took the form of a beading group. And I still come to the beading group, and we do fundraising. We sell our stuff to make extras for the home.
Spiritual needs of our residents are met by visiting ministers of various denominations from our local churches. The community is involved with Cosmos House through outreach projects from pre-primary, primary and high schools and special needs children. Support group is available for the community, and talks are given at local churches, schools, Rotary meetings, care homes and other organisations. We do have Rotary involvement. Our committee, the eyes and ears of the residents, consisting of management and volunteers. Kalami Cosmos, a specialised fundraising unit involved in our annual golf day, jumble sales and fundraising functions. There is entertainment for the residents. We have piano and singing once a week. We also have pause for people and different musicians that visit as often as possible. We want to thank everybody involved at Cosmos House, from the wonderful staff, residents and their families, and our marvellous volunteers. And of course, without the generous sponsorship that we have received and will continue to receive in the future, we would not be able to move forward and provide the high level of care that makes Cosmos House the leader in the field of dementia care today.